Right. So here we are. We have talked about 2 or 3 of the key principles in questionnaire design, and now we will go forward and talk about the flow of info, by which I mean what comes first, what comes next, what comes third, that kind of thing. Right? Needless to say, this is yet another very crucial consideration in writing a questionnaire. Because the right flow ensures that the respondent is enabled. So it's not enough for the respondent to have good intentions. You should also make it easy for him or her to answer the questions logically in a good flow, right? Without, obvious logical flaws, without being uncomfortable saying, hey, why are we going chuck, 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 chuck like this? It needs to go in a certain logical flow, right? So there are 3 principles that we need to follow. See, sitting here in a classroom, we cannot anticipate what kind of flow, questions are raised at any different point in time, what kind of flow decisions need to be taken in different situations. All we can do is say there are 3 principles, and when in doubt, apply those principles to that particular situation, and therefore figure out which one should come first, which one should come next, and so forth, right? So the 3 principles are: other than the questions needed for screening, place all demographic and classification questions at the end. Now, just a small diversion. What does demographic mean? We've covered it.
Age, gender.
Yes, age,
NCCS,
etc. Right? Income, so on and so forth. Perfect. So this is principle number 1. Principle number 2. Start with simple questions. Simple, easy to answer questions. Move on to tougher questions. And then wind up as in close the interview with simple questions once again. But remember, per se market research is not supposed to have questions that are too tough. So we mean relatively tougher. When you say tougher, for feminist questions that you think about and say, what's the correct answer? They have to think. Those kind of questions. Questions to which they can just answer very easily are simple questions. And the third principle is always in everything in market research, in everything in marketing, is use common sense. Okay. So let's look at each of these principles. So we said the first principle, other than the ones needed for screening, right? Place all demographic and classification questions at the end of the questionnaire. So, for example, if a study needs to be done with men aged 22 to 30, or HCCS A or B or C households, and when we get the data, the analysis needs to be done separately for students and for working people and for businessmen. So we screen for men 22 to 30 ABC, and we analyze as 3 groups: students, working people, businessmen. Right? So in the situation, we have to ask age in the beginning itself, because it's a screening question. We have to ask NCCS as a screening question in the beginning, right? Only then we can ensure we're getting the right response. Traditionally, in market research, we don't ask gender. The interviewer, if it is a face-to-face interview, the interviewer is asked to observe the gender. If it's an online interview, of course, we have to ask gender. But today, it's politically correct to ask gender. It's important to keep these things in mind. The world is changing and we need to keep changing along with it. Right? However, profession, as in, are you a student? or are you working, or are you a businessman, can be asked at the end because it is not required for classification. So the example is a simple example, but it proves the point. I want to eliminate ladies. I want to eliminate people who are older than 30 and younger than 22. I want to eliminate NCCS D and E. So I want those three questions in the beginning of the questionnaire screening. However, it doesn't matter to me if they're students or working people or business people. But I do need that information because I want to analyze them as three separate groups. In modern language, people call it three separate cohorts. I have not started using the terminology. Basically, it means cohorts, right? Groups. So, since I want to analyze it as three separate groups, I need the question. And so I'll ask it at the end. Logical? This principle has to be applied in every different situation. Right? So we'll go forward. So second, we should start with simple questions. Go on to tougher questions. Come back to simple questions and close the questionnaire. So this, what is simple, what is tough, varies from study to study. But one example, if you are assessing the brand health of a soap brand, then the first few questions will be about brand awareness. So it will be questions like which brands have you heard of, which brands do you remember seeing advertising for, please see the list here and tell me which of these brands you're aware of. Simple questions to answer. Person can just say, yes, I've heard of Lux, I've heard of Dove, I've heard of Medimix, so on and so forth, right? And which brands do you normally use at home? So the person says, I use Medimix or I use Dove, as the case may be. Easy to answer questions. Second set of questions will be the respondent's opinion. These are slightly tougher. According to you, which is your favorite brand? Let's say, I like Medimix, I like Lux. My favorite brand would be Medimix. Okay, which other brands do you think are good brands? Lux is a good brand. Actually, Dove is a good brand. Hammam is a good brand. I have to think and answer. It's not that easy, right? So, which brands will you never buy? No, any never buy? Yeah, never buy Bibel. I'll never buy Fiamma Devilis. I don't think it's meant for me. So I have to think and answer. So they're not tough in the conventional sense, like an exam question, but they require thought out answers. And therefore, they're, you started very simple and moved up to slightly tougher questions. Come back to simple questions. This will cover, less important behavior questions. Where do you normally buy from? Is it a neighborhood shop? Is it a supermarket? Is it online? Right? And classification. Where do you work? How much have you studied? What are the relevant classification questions are? So, very simple, easy to answer. Tougher in the sense of I have to think through. Right? And then, again, easy to answer. So, this will vary from topic to topic. But the general rule, more or less applicable, is that awareness and behavior and even classification are simpler than opinion questions. It's a general rule of thumb. Rule of thumb, not rule. Remember that. Right? Is it clear? So let's go on to the next principle. Common sense. I'll give an example. If the study involves asking unaided and aided awareness. So let me first explain what unaided and aided awareness is. We'll go through a live example. I want you to be a little louder. I need you to be heard in the recording here, right? So these days there's the cement brands. Which brands of cement have you heard of? Dalmia. Ultratech. That's all? Okay. Now these two brands is what we call as unaided awareness. I have not given you any list. From your own memory, you said these two brands. Within these two brands, this one is in fact top of mind. So that's actually a subset of unaided. Okay. Now, I'll ask you, have you heard of Ramco Simmons?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you heard of Shankar Simmons? Yes.
Yes.
Have you heard of Vajram?
No.
Have you heard of Priya?
No.
Okay. Have you heard of Birla?
Yes.
Have you heard of Coromandel?
Yes.
Now these four brands is what we call aided awareness. Because I gave you a list. I can read out or I can show you the list. Or online it can come on the screen, etc. etc. Right? This is aided awareness. Understood the concept?
Yeah.
Equally, I can ask for which branch do you remember seeing ads without showing the list. So which branch do you remember seeing an ad or hearing an ad on radio or on digital or on mobile? It doesn't matter. For no other branch you've seen an ad?
I don't remember.
You don't remember. Okay. So here is what I have to say about this. And the fourth question would be, please see the list of brands and tell me for which branch you've seen ads. So have you seen an ad for Ramco?
No.
Shankar? Birla?
Long back I think, yes.
Coromandel?
Yes.
Okay, so this is aided ad awareness. Now, I have already asked you unaided brand awareness, aided brand awareness. It is not logical for me to ask you unaided ad awareness after asking aided brand awareness. Because I've already given you the list once. This is where common sense comes into play. So the flow has to be first unaided awareness of brands, then unaided recall of ads, then the two aided questions. This is common sense. Now, how can you teach common sense? You can't teach common sense. Right? We have to apply it from situation to situation. This is one example. But we keep coming across situations where we need to apply common sense. So we understood why the flow is important. Supposing we had got this flow wrong. Supposing we had got this question here. Supposing the flow was this. Then effectively this question gets wrong answers. Because it is not unneeded. You see, I've already shown the list. Right? And in the previous, situation, if you have asked, the opinion question first, straight away, hi Gauri, my name is Ashok. Can I do a survey? Which is your favorite brand of soap? And which brands of soap do you think are good brands other than your favorite brand of soap? Out of the blue, you don't talk like that. That's just too much to deal with. So start with simpler questions. Right? And if you go back to the previous example here, and I come to you and say, Gauri, are you a student or are you a working person? You're a student, right? You're doing your BSc in data science. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so can you please answer this question? Fine, finish question. Okay, Gauri, so are you, I hope your age is between 22 and 30. You say, no, my age is 21. Oh, hell, my entire effort has gone waste. It doesn't make sense to ask screening at the end and an unnecessary question of student at the beginning. Right? So this is why flow is important. How do you decide a good flow? We can give these three guiding principles. Right? Shall we go forward?
Yeah.
So let's go forward to the next big consideration in questionnaire design. This is question wordings. You have to ask the question. You can't just ask it like a common, you can't just use whatever words you feel like. You can't just use arbitrary way of talking. You have to word the question in such a way that everybody understands it in the same way. I'll give you an example, since I've already told you a couple of times that I'm a keen follower of cricket, right? So I'll give you an example from cricket. About 30 years ago, Muhammad Azharuddin was the captain of the Indian team. Okay, so the Indian team went to Australia, and we lost the series very badly. Then we went to South Africa, and we lost the series very badly. I'm talking about Test series those days. There was no T20 yet. Test cricket was the most important form of cricket those days. Then we had a series in India, home series against the England team which was visiting. And Azharuddin was once again appointed the captain. So journalists asked the chairman of selectors, why have you appointed him as captain even though he has lost 2 series as a captain? So the chairman of selectors replied, we want to see him captaining at home. Okay. Now, I understood that statement as, yes, he has lost a series in Australia and in South Africa, but captaining at home could be different. The Indian team is stronger at home. I want to see him captain at home. The journalist understood the sentence as, I want to see him. And the journalist says, but you could have seen him on TV how he was captaining. So, words are understood differently by different people. Therefore, a questionnaire has to be worded in such a fashion that what I intend to ask is exactly what you understand that I'm asking you. That's point number 1. And I should ask it in the correct way. It's not enough to get my meaning across. I should ask it correctly as per market research principles so that I get a correct answer from you. Right? So, what are the principles here? Use simple words. Don't use consumer speak. Use consumer speak and not marketing speak. We'll see examples of this. Okay. Use standard wordings. I'll come to what I mean by that. Avoid confusing words in statements asking for agree, disagree. We'll see each of these things. We're just listing out the key principles here for now. Be very conscious about when to use long question wording, meaning the question itself is a paragraph versus, a crisp kind of question. Avoid slang. Avoid colloquialisms. What is slang? These days, many people use the word slang when they mean accent. Slang is different, accent is different. Slang is local lingo, local words. People these days are using it in the context of accent. I have a Kerala accent, somebody has a Tamil accent, somebody has a Bengali accent. They say, he has a Kerala slang. No, it's a Kerala accent. Slang is a wrong word, right? But that's a good example of, people meaning different things and people taking on different things. When I say slang, you might understand that I'm talking about accent. Right? So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And avoid bias in the question wording. Right? So let's see each of these. Now, within simple words, right? Here are some examples. A consumer is not a marketing professional. A consumer is a layman or a layperson, right? It's not a marketing professional. They don't understand the lingo. So, it's better to ask which newspapers do you read. Don't say which media, what are your media habits? What are your media consumption habits? It's a technical word. As a consumer, what are my media consumption habits? I consume food. I don't consume media, right? I read in newspapers. I listen to radio. I watch television. I don't consume media. That's your language. Therefore, use words which a consumer understands. At all points, remind yourself that you're talking to a non-marketing educated person, talking to an ordinary human being who has common sense, but doesn't have your specialized knowledge of this subject. This is number 1. This is clear. We'll go to the next principle. We are here now. See, questionnaires can be for different subjects, but most questionnaires will have some common questions. They will have NCCS, they will have SEC, they will have MHI, monthly household income, they'll have age question, they'll have family structure questions, so on and so forth. There are standard wordings for those questions that the whole world uses. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Don't try to say, I'll use a different wording. There's no point in it. You're wasting your intellectual energy on something which is not going to help you in any fashion because the standard wording is tried and tested and proven to be working, right? So, MHA, socioeconomic class, even brand awareness. Which brands have you heard of? Which brands are you aware of? There's no need for you to think of, I want to be different. There's no point being different for its own sake. Okay? We'll go on?
Yeah.
So, we are on to the third principle. Avoid confusing words. For example, if I ask you, the brand is not suitable for, you ask me this question. This brand is not suitable. Do I agree or disagree? Ask me.
The brand is not suitable for middle class consumers. Do you agree?
I don't think so. What does it mean? Right? Most of us, oh, do you mean you don't think the brand is suitable, in which case you're actually agreeing? Or do you mean you don't think the brand is not suitable, in which case you're actually disagreeing? It's a common thought we have. In every human conversation, this happens, right? So, the simple principle is, don't have these negative statements. The brand is suitable. He says, I think so, I don't think so. I agree, I don't agree. No confusion there. The brand is not suitable, you're getting a loop. Why would you want a loop? Make it simpler, right? Second, the category, ask me the question again.
The category has only a few good brands, but this brand is one of them.
I don't agree. Do you know whether I disagree with this portion of the sentence or I disagree with this portion of the sentence? You don't know, right? Why? Because the question is wrong. I have given the answer. Now, if you have to ask me to explain my answer, it means your question is wrong. So don't have double, this in market research, these are called double-barreled statements. Meaning there are two parts to it, right? So if he agrees, there is no confusion. He agrees with both parts. If he disagrees, is when you have a doubt about it. Therefore, split it up too. This category has only a few good brands. Agree, disagree? This brand is one of the good brands in the category. Agree, disagree? Right? To go forward?
Yeah.
We are on to the fourth principle. It's a general GP. I'm using GP. What do I mean by GP? Guiding principle. Or, as I keep saying, there's a general rule of thumb in market research that difficult answer questions, that is opinion questions, they get better answers when the question is long. It sort of reassures the respondent that it's okay to think time and give an answer. So you would say, I have been talking to different consumers like you. Some consumers like brand A, some consumers like brand B. I have a list of brands with me here. Can you please tell me which of these, in your opinion, are the good brands? Very long paragraph, right? It reassures them in a very subconscious fashion that they're talking. I can also take my time, think through, and give an answer. Okay? But you don't need to say, I have been talking to different consumers and I find that different people belong to different age groups. Some people are 50 plus, some people are 20 minus. Can you please tell me what is the age group? That's silly. You can just say, can you please tell me the age group? Right? So, opinion questions which require good thought, long wordings work better. Behavior awareness questions, crisp wordings work better. Alright? Shall we go forward? So here we are. Slang and colloquialisms. Colloquial usages and slang tend to vary from city to city, from country to country. For example, in North India, you say, dost, kya kar rahe? Friend, what are you doing? In Tamil, the word for dost could be something else. That's not the way people talk. right? There will be some other word for it. Maybe they say yaar, maybe they say machi, maybe they say macha, right? So slang varies. And I'll give you a couple of personal examples, not from market research, from life examples of how it varies. I spent my schooling and college in Chennai. In Chennai, vehicles go on the road and human beings walk on the pavement, right? In those days, we also used to say walk on the platform, right? When I went to Bombay and I said walk on the platform, people said, you think it's a railway station or what to walk on the platform? In Bombay, for the word platform, they use footpath. Actually, footpath is the correct word. Platform is a wrong word. But I had grown up using that word, you see, because that was a local slang. That is a local colloquialism. In Chennai, I have chips, those crisp fried things, banana chips, so on and so forth. The same thing in Bombay was called wafers when I went there 30 years ago. I don't know what it's called now. In Chennai, when I'm walking on the road and somebody is blocking my way, I would say, excuse me. In Bombay, they'll say side, meaning I should go to the side. Local slang, colloquialism. No, it took me a while to figure this out. Till I figured it out, I wasn't able to understand what people are saying. Market research is very similar. So don't use these local words that mean different things in different places. Use common, universally understood language. It's extremely important, right? So I'll give one example. I don't know who really talks like this. Chill, bro. Maybe my age group, we don't relate to that. Chill, bro. What you saying? That's not the way we talk to each other. So avoid them altogether in question writing. Now, this is not the same. A slang is not the same as consumer speak. Consumer speak merely means avoid marketing technological terms. It doesn't mean use local languages, local terms, right? Okay, fine. Shall we go on? This is the sixth principle within question wording, please remember, right? Avoid bias. Now, you find a lot of literature about bias. Oh, the question is biased, etc. What is bias? When I ask a question, it should be completely neutral. I should not be pointing the respondent towards this direction or that direction. Okay. So, would you agree with other consumers that brand A is a good brand? Do you get a feeling when I say this that other consumers have said brand A is a good brand? Yes. So that's a bias. I'm sort of telling you, would you agree with other consumers? I'm sort of telling you that other consumers have said brand A is a good brand. So I'm biasing your answer. What will you say about brand A? Is it very good or quite good or fair? You actually want to say it's terrible, but I'm not letting you. Right? So that's a bias. What will you say about brand A? Is it good or neutral or bad? Here there is no bias. I'm not pointing you here, I'm not pointing you there, and I'm giving you the freedom to express a positive opinion, a neutral opinion, a negative opinion. I'm not forcing you in any fashion. Here there is no bias. Right? Again, how will you apply it from situation to situation? If you want to make sure your questionnaire has no bias, ask yourself, am I pointing the person here or there? Or am I being neutral? Criteria number one. Criteria number two, am I forcing him to answer only in a certain way? Am I giving him enough freedom to answer whatever he thinks? If both the criteria are met, your question has no bias. Can I anticipate all the possible situations here? No, I can't. Can you figure it out for yourself? Yes, you can. Because the principle is this. Am I pointing the consumer towards one or the other response? Right? You shouldn't. Two, am I forcing or am I restricting the respondent's freedom to answer whatever they think? Am I restricting the respondent's freedom? Right? You shouldn't. If both these things are not being done, that means the question has no bias. Right? Okay, so we've talked about question wordings. We've talked about 6 principles here, right? Principle 1, use simple words, consumer speak. Use standard wordings when available. Avoid confusing double-barreled statements. Think through when you want to use long words and long question wording, meaning paragraph questions compared to simple statement questions. Avoid slang and colloquialisms. Avoid bias in the question wording. Right? Shall we take a quick break and come back?